Well, we are fresh off the February update in which that we got a lot of awesome information about what is coming in February, but also what is coming or starting to tease what is happening in March. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Ginger Prime. My name's Brian, and in this video, we're going to do a summary of the latest developer update for February and talk about it in terms of how I feel about what they've shared, but you can always let me know what you guys are feeling in the comments below. This is going to be hopefully like not that long of a video, but I'll try to also bullet point the various sections so you can kind of jump to any specific area that you want to know. If you want to know how luck works in this game, they go through it in full detail, what it impacts, what it doesn't impact. We're going to talk about that here. I want to focus first on some of the big things that are happening in New World and what we can actually look forward to in March. Now, as the final thoughts, they talk about what are we going to see in March? What are we going to see as a part of that update? And they are planning on sharing their big roadmap for the future of New World. They've talked about New World as this 10-year plan, and it appears that next month is when they're going to reveal. I don't know if it's going to be the full 10 years, but some of that might be more ethereal or more vision board based, but ultimately they're going to share that with us in March. And also the March update is apparently supposed to put the final stamp on the story that they've been telling this whole time with Isabella, the corruption, and who knows what will ultimately happen. In fact, they kind of talk about the heretic and some of the other aspects of the story that are going to be coming back into play. But I wanted to start with the end in mind in that regards, because I think that's really exciting, because February's update has been labeled the bugs, the bots, and the balance update. This has been going to be focusing in on the core aspects of the game, fixing bugs in which they go into it with over 1,000 fixes, implemented 700 in this build alone, 225 improvements, over 50 things that were actually fixed that had been around before they launched the game, 350 minor bugs, and so much more. But let's go ahead and start off. They have a new community lead. Welcome to Tina. She's the community host. I'll also tag her in over on Twitter, guys. If you're interested in when I post this, I'll try to include all these links in the description. And they're going to focus in on this video talking about the February update, the combat and various modes around that, the state of the current economy. They have community Q&A, and then they talk about the story so far. I've pretty much covered the last two sections right at the start of this video, so let's go ahead and focus in on the February update, what we learned from this video. So they are going to be taking systems already in that they have in the game and improving on them. This means that February's update is not focusing in on content, but that does not mean that they're not adding in rewards to the content that exists, like OPR and things like that. I think overall that's going to be very good. Like I named off the various bugs and the different stats that they've given us, this I think is going to overall help the improvement of the game. And you feel that when you go into the PTR, especially as it relates to the combat and the speed and how things kind of flow and feel just more fluid overall. But I'm getting ahead of myself. They're going to put more validation in on the items as they're created, just to help with the overall balance of trading with the trade posting and more. And that I think is going to be a system that you'll never ever feel, you'll never really see. It's just going to guarantee that things are going to work as you expect them to work when you want them to work. They're also adding more ways for players to actually earn gypsum and umbral shards, and this is going to be adding them to the outpost rush. They're also going to have more rewards that are more lucrative as opposed in outpost rush, and they're also going to have a more guaranteed random bump of expertise when you are opening up your chests in that mode. So that's really exciting to see. They're going to adjust the XP ramp for both logging and fishing, essentially trying to reduce the amount needed to really climb those lower ladders. Overall, I have seen the notes that the fishing has gotten a bump. I'm very much excited for that as somebody who's been working my way up to 200. Hopefully this is just going to make it that much easier and faster overall. But at the end of the day, I think logging and fishing definitely have been the ones that have needed the most attention, because it's not necessarily the most engaging. You do have to chop down a lot of trees to keep that going. I don't know if that's going to affect the later half of the game, but I'll be sure to let you guys know whenever I go hands-on with the February update, maybe today or this week. I'm assuming it's happening because this is the last week of February, so release the patch notes. All right. Umbral shards are the system that takes you currently from 600 to 625. They're going to be adjusting that so that you can actually get umbral shards from gypsum casts. They're going to increase the amount that you get every time you actually open a cast and every time that you craft a 600 item. That's going up. Now, regarding mutated expeditions, they're reducing the cooldown of buying the keys from the faction shop from once a week to just every 3 days. So even the people on the panel are very excited of the fact that it's going to a 3-day faction purchase item as opposed to once a week. I was happy they added it at least to the faction shop. My personal opinion is they should be tradable on the markets. If you're going to have a key, let people make them, let people sell them, make that an economy in and of itself. But I've already stated that in numerous videos, and we'll probably continue to beat that drum until until they do it, or until they take the keys out in the first place. All right, combat and modes. This is the section they were focusing on, clunky movement. This has been their primary focus, and so they're looking at kind of jumps, lands, moving. Basically, they've made it so that if you are moving, you're going to keep moving. It's not going to slow you down. It's not going to stutter you. Same thing with melee attacks. You no longer have that base slowdown after you do an attack, so melee is going to feel naturally faster. And I think overall, having tested this on the PTR, I have to agree. It does feel way more fluid and way more enjoyable with that subtle change. Now, weapon switching, I covered this in a specific video on the channel, but it's guaranteed to happen, and oh my goodness, it is a game changer. Going from the PTR back into the core game that doesn't have it, you feel it, and you feel it instantly, and it's just annoying to switch weapons right now, but in the PTR, very easy to jump into. They're also updating scoring as a part of Outpost Rush, so how you contribute instead of who gets the final finishing kill. So points are going to be adjusted based off of how people are actually doing and playing the game. They originally didn't have that because I guess they were saying they had problems with bots, and that's also another attack of this. And so so at the end of the day, I'm happy to see that Outpost Rush is getting some adjustments to its scoring system. Now, they also say that caches have a higher chance to grant an expertise bump, and you can also buy the gypsum orbs as well. So I think that's going to be a good thing overall for the in-game economy. I still want to see experience applied to myself at level 60 because I think that just opens up the full game, especially as things that reward XP that don't get you have nothing to do with it. That ends up being kind of frustrating. They say that you have the ability to block and dodge from the startup of the attacks. So there's going to be some minor feigning, really kind of considering for higher level play. And then the Rapier and the Void Gauntlet, they're going to be getting some nerfs, it sounds like, being that they have been called overpowered. So basically they say Rapier is too defensive, and Void Gauntlet basically is getting updated because they also had the fix that was put in place for the Ice Gauntlet. And that's going to overall help the experience out with these two weapons as well. Regarding the state of the economy right now they believe is to be in a very healthy place, and the more coin that is generated from being made than actually being taken out of the economy, this does bring in kind of concerns about inflation overall, but that's something they're going to continue to have to monitor with the game in the world. They say that the reason is they've also added more coin-based rewards for various players, things that when you're just going around and playing the game, you get your Juniper sacks, which tend to include coin, as well as other methods for just playing the game itself. And they also reduce the various taxes on housing, so that's going to also be included in the next update, basically not making it so expensive to have a house. Regarding kind of just overall how you interact with the world, they're going to be reducing the amount of time it takes you to get from place to place, meaning your inn is now going to go down from 1 hour to 30 minutes. Same thing, we're going to see a reduction in owning a house, teleporting back to your house, and an Azoth cost reduction when moving from place to place to place. So the big aspect of this is them trying to reduce the friction between players and how they play. This is to hit fast travel, mutation orbs, and storages. And the reason for a lot of these changes taking time is obviously the game has evolved a lot since its original inception as kind of a survival crafting game. And so because of that, they're like, okay, it's time for us to go and adjust these items and adjust these features. And so that's going to be something they look to. Now, towards the long term of it all, they are looking at obviously hitting the easy changes first, but regarding trade post improvements, those are going to take longer, but they are working on those for sure. Territory mechanics are also going to take longer as well, but they're working on them, and they really want to focus in on doing things right rather than running the risk of introducing bad ideas. Now, if you stuck around this far, let's talk about luck. How does it work in New World? Well, there's two types of luck. There's global luck, and then there's gathering luck. So, for example, let's say you have a 3% luck trophy. Luck does stack up together, and you open an elite chest. What happens here? Well, it raises the floor of your roll in a chance to get that current name. So your rolls essentially are going up, and you're looking for those higher rare tier items, but it doesn't necessarily lower the ceiling for what you're looking for. Luck has actually no bearing on the probability that you will get an item to drop. So what ends up happening is that there's the probability that an item drops, and then that's after that, if it rolls yes, then it tricks over into, well, that's where luck applies. So it's not on the chance of an item dropping, it's on the after effect if the item does drop. They say that PvP has an impact on both modes, and we know that when you flag for PvP, both for crafting and gathering and, you know, just your general luck. But also, luck does not actually impact rarity. So this is green and blue items. Personally speaking, this feels very off to me, a bit very weird, because if it's all about, he kind of kept leaning into it's all about the named items. If it's all about named items versus like anything else, I think overall I'd like to see it have an impact on greens and blues, you know, getting a chance of those more than versus like something like getting that named item itself. But here we are. We'll have to wait and see how this evolves. And it does not impact crafting because they have crafting gathering sets, and they also have food and things like that. So when I say gathering sets, I mean focusing on crafting so that your general luck doesn't actually have an impact on your crafting in and of itself. So what does the current data look like with the New World? Currently, the most used weapon in the game is still the hatchet. Void Gauntlet is rising in popularity, and musket is the least used weapon in the game so far. This is having them going to have them work on bringing up the musket up to par. So we'll have to see how that plays out in the long run. They're also looking at long-term gear set storage for better management of sets. I think this is something where everybody kind of agrees. Even they talked about in the video about, hey, yeah, let's all sit down, and it'd be so nice to be able to just equip a set, store a set, be able to manage your sets. But that's going to be on the longer term side of things. We shouldn't be seeing that so far in at least March. But guys, that's the summary. There's a lot of notes here. I hope that you got something good from this video. I hope that you're enjoying New World as much as I am, or you're looking forward to checking it out again in the future, or for the first time at some point down the road. This has been Ginger Prime. My name's Brian. Sound off and let me know if you got any thoughts, feelings, or more, and I will hopefully see you in my next video. But until then, take care.
Yeah. It's time to chill out on the couch and read some comments. That's right. You know me when it comes to Destiny. I'm off with a clan, and I'm glad you're feeling better. Oh.